Hello, welcome back to SitInGrace podcast. And if you don't know me, I'm the host, Jamie. And today we have a guest, and her name is Alexa.
Hey, I'm Jamie's cousin, and today we're going to talk about pain into purpose. So I'll
Yeah.
let you get into that.
All right, perfect. So today's topic is going to be pain into purpose, like how she said. And so to start off, I have like a poem that will it'll show us like hope when there's like, pain or you
Yeah.
feel like you're hopeless. It shows like how God could use that pain and hopelessness and turn it into something beautiful. So here we go. It's called Never Forsaken. Even through the pain, even through the storm, I will fear no evil. You won't forsake me, my Lord, my Lord. I lift my hands to the heavens and lay all my burdens where you give me rest. I let every breath praise the Lord, where he gave us purpose to rise to life. In his name, forever worthy, from someone that never deserved it to having unfailing love to grace. So that's the poem for today. Um, if you didn't know, I write poems, and this is one of them to bring encouragement. So yeah, so
Very good poem. I think it's really good. Very beautiful. I love it. Your poems are always really good. So,
yeah, that's how I end up. That's how I started expressing my feelings and how I felt, what I was going through. So that's an example when um I saw that God was, like, healing me from hurt. But yeah, and what I experienced, how he turned the hurting, that pain into purpose and show me his identity, that my identity is just in Christ and only in him. So yeah. So do you want to start off, like, we're going to talk about pain into purpose. So do you want to tell me about an experience you had that God used that, we'll say, hardship, that pain, and turn it into something beautiful?
yeah, I had an experience and it was physical pain. So, um, going back to like last year, there was this one time that I was in a store and I couldn't see like my vision, like all of a sudden it was like blocked. It
Yeah.
was like one of my eyes, it was like I didn't have the eye anymore. It was like completely black and I was like, what's going on? And it was super scary. And I didn't want to tell anyone to not scare them or just to, I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be okay. And later on, like a month later, it happens again. But that time it was really bad. I woke up and I couldn't see, and I was like, this is bad. And I told my parents about it, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take you to emergencies. So I went, and I felt the worst pain ever. Like just being in the hospital and like sitting there and just knowing that it's you. It's literally a clock that just says the time, and like hours go so slow, and that's it. And you have like no one there. You can't talk to anybody. You're just kind of there. And it's like, God help me. And it was the worst like pain of my life, that physical and emotional, I think, because I
Hmm.
was having like this mental breakdown where I was like, I cannot do this alone. If you're not here, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I can't. They did various things. Last year I had a concussion, so I thought that might have affected it in a way. So I was like, it might be that. They did a CAT scan, they did various things, blood tests, everything. They were like, let's see what it is. And turns out that I get eye strokes in my vision. And I was like, no way. Like, I couldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that it's that bad, but it's like, it's scary to think that you lose your vision for a while and then it comes back like nothing happened. And you're like, whoa. And so I got stuff to treat it. I had to go months later to like get it refixed again, check, everything, and check like behind the eye. And that happened. Time later, I I go to the Crossing Church on Thursdays for something called Greenhouse Prayer Room. It's where people gather and we just do spontaneous worship and we just like worship the Lord and it's all beautiful. And there was this one time there where my cousin, she was actually like, let's go. And I was like,
Yeah.
no. Like,
It was last minute too
yeah.
that day.
And I was like, there's no way I'm going. I was like, I look like a mess. It was like, it was bad. And I was not feeling myself. I'm like, I'm just feeling super drained. It's not my day. I'm like, let's not go. And she's like, come on. She's like, what bad could happen? And I'm like, you're right. Like, what's the worst, right?
Yeah.
We ended up going that day. And my vision is still a little off from everything that was happening, the strokes and just all that. And so we went there, we did worship, and then there was a part where they stopped and they're like, "Oh, I feel like someone who's experiencing mental or like physical illness, like they're going to be healed today." And I don't know why it just called to me. Like it just like in that moment I was like, "That's me." And they did the praying, they did everything, and nothing happened to me. Like nothing. I looked the same. I turned around. I was like, I can't see anything. I was still having like that, And I was just kind of sad because I was like, I thought in this moment God would listen and answer to my prayers, but nothing happened. And that also like ties into waiting. And sometimes God has you wait for a reason. It's not that He just doesn't answer prayers or He's like, I'll do that later. Like, no, like He knows what you're going through. He knows the pain, but He knows when and where He's gonna fix it. And He has a reason why. And so later on, we were just in worship. We were back into worship, and I was like, okay. I just closed my eyes. I synced into the moment. I was listening to the music just go, and I opened them, and I'm like, I can see the screen over there. I can see the screen over there. I'm like, how did that happen? Like, that just didn't make sense to me completely. And I was like, no way. And I turned to my cousin, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Jamie, do you see that? I was like, do you see that? And she's like, see what? She's like,
Like,
what are you?
yep.
Because yeah, tell them about that moment. Because I
I
feel
remember
like
she just like turned around to me like she's like, hold up. Like she tapped me by the shoulder. She's like, girl, like I could see the screen. I'm like, wait, what? Well, she's like, I could see. I'm like, what? Like, what? I was kind of off because like it was during worship, and I was like, wait, what's happening, right? And I was like, she's like, yeah, like I could see the screen. I couldn't see. I was seeing like before. I was see blurry. Like from when I see like the words, I couldn't see it that clear. Like so, like, but now I see it clearly. Like she's like, that's insane. Like I could see like perfectly. And I
yeah,
was like, no way. I'm like, dude, that's legit. I told her that's legit,
yeah, God
God
is
healing,
so good. Yeah, He's so good. And after that, I was like, okay, like it was so amazing. I was just standing there, like I looked at her and I was like, what do I do with this? I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was so confused at the moment, but it was such a good feeling that God answered my prayers and He gave me back the vision that I needed. He knew that I was struggling for so long, and He's like, here it is. And then moments later, they go up back onto the stage and they're like, I felt like someone just got healed. And I was like, there's no way. I was just so stunned by like the moments and
Yeah.
everything. I was like, there's no way. And so, and then she said, like, oh, if anyone who got healed, wants to share their story, just raise your hand and you can share it up on stage. And I was like, you're lying. Like, I've always been someone who I would love to share my testimony. Like, I've shared it so many times. I always love to like speak about it and speak about what God does in my life because honestly, He's done the best things for me. So why would I not share it, if He does like
Yeah.
the best and just in general. And so I went up to the stage. I remember I was shocked. I was shaking and I was like, so I told them the whole story about the eye strokes and how much I suffered and I was in the hospital and stuff. And going back to seeing the video of people's reactions, just like it made me remember why I became Christian and like all these things, and why I love
Yeah.
God so much. It just like because there was like people crying, there's people like jumping up, they're like, yes, praise the Lord, and I'm like, yes, amen. It was so good. And like it just made me so happy to see those reactions. And then after service, I was just there. I was like putting my stuff on to just leave and getting everything ready. And these girls come up to me and they're like, "Oh, like your testimony is so beautiful. Like, what happened to you has just like stirred my faith and and made me want to like keep believing in the Lord and keep believing that he does miracles.
Yeah.
And I was just so stunned. I'm like, really? Like me, like I did that. That's so like it's crazy how the Lord uses someone and like he has someone chosen to stir other people's faith or like make their faith just grow stronger over someone that's going like through a similar thing because you
Yeah.
never know. Someone in there might be like, "Oh, I also have this type of thing or this thing." And they're like, "Wow, if he healed her, he can heal me."
Yeah.
You know?
Like an encouragement, pretty much. Being an encouragement to someone. It's amazing how God could use you. How she says, like, how he could use you in sometimes the randomest way or the days that you never expected, fun fact. But yeah, it is true. Um,
Yeah. And after that, like weeks after, because I try to go there at least every single week, and weeks after, the same girls come up to me and they're like, "So how's your eye been? And like, how are you? And how's that? And how's this?" And I'm like, "It's been good, you know. Like I feel it, you know. The Lord, the Spirit moves through me, you know. That roaring fire for the Lord is in there, you know. It's good. It's all been good, and it just makes me so happy to know that people like how was I gonna word this? To know that people are gonna use what happened to me to make their faith grow stronger and for them to get closer to the Lord. And it's just beautiful. And I forgot to share this, but back when I had the eye strokes, I had another experience like in October that because I'm in marching band for school. So back in that time we were in a football game and it was away. And going back onto the bus, I was like walking and I couldn't see again. And that was like I think the fourth or yeah, third or fourth time that it happened and I was like I seriously don't know what to do, you know? And I was like I was so bummed out. I was like sad. I was cuz I couldn't walk and usually I'm a person that I like to think and stay strong as much as I can and not I don't try to think about okay, this is my weakness. This is making me, you know, feel this way. Like I just try to be like I'm going to be okay cuz I know the Lord is right here with me, you know? He's right here and like he won't leave, you know?
yeah.
And I'm like, in him, I'll be fine. You know, it doesn't matter if I know I'm going through something, but I know that what he has is better
Yeah,
or
for
it's going to
sure.
be better in the future. And so I was just really sad. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And like, I walked over and a couple of friends were helping me because I was a little like, I couldn't walk that much because I couldn't see what was in front of me. I got onto the bus and the first thing I did, faithful prayers just started to come in. I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people look at me and they're like, what is she doing? Or people think cuz sometimes I feel like people they don't want to share out their faith cuz they're scared of what other people may say.
Yeah.
Or they're like, "Oh, what if this person looks at me?" And then they're like this and that and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to say that." But I was like, "You know what? It doesn't matter at this point. Like faithful prayers, you know? They got to know like, you know? And so literally the whole way there, like back to school, faithful prayers coming in. I was like, Jesus, help me. And like people joined me in and it was amazing. And could you not, 20 minutes later, literally on the bus, gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone. I could see I was fine. I looked fine. And everybody was like, are you sure you're fine? I'm like, perfectly. I can walk. I can see. It was the most amazing thing of my life. I think that's happened. And it just shows you like how the Lord is faithful when, you know, like he's just he's just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to add in, um, like how she says, like you feel like you have to have be strong all the time. In a way, he's in our weakness, he's our strength. So it's okay to be weak, and it makes us realize like how much we need him. You know, like in that point,
Yeah.
like I can't do this on my own. You know, but yeah. And then to little pause, I'm gonna add in. There's an announcement in the end, so stay tuned till
Stay
the end for the
tuned.
announcement. By the way,
Yes, you don't want to miss it out.
yep.
So you do not want to miss out on this. So yes, please stay tuned till the end because we have
Yep.
an announcement.
All right.
All right.
So getting back to the thing, um,
Do you have an experience that you would like to share on pain into purpose?
I say one of them that probably a lot of people could probably relate to maybe will be probably like how he turns pain into purpose will be probably, for me, one of them will be heartbreak. A
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah, that's
go through
tough.
heartbreak, and sometimes people think of it like that's it. I'm always gonna feel that pain forever. I'm one of those people, like, to tell you, like, the pain is not there forever. And people usually say time heals, but
Mm.
do I agree? In a sense, yes and no, because I feel like the one that heals is God. He's the one, like, once you give it to him, he'll help you. It's okay to be raw to him. Show him, like, yeah, like, I'm really broken for what happened. You know, like, I was in a relationship with this person. I thought I was gonna get married, but ended up not happening. But I tell people it's okay to be raw with God. I know sometimes you want to hide those parts to God, but He wants you to show you, like, those parts, like the what they say, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't look perfect, where we look like a mess because, to be honest, like, after my heartbreak, it's been almost 2 years, I believe, in maybe 3 months or so. It's gonna be like 2 years. But yeah, it's crazy how he could turn a heartbreak into, something beautiful. Because I thought I was gonna stay in that phase forever, like heartbroken, and that I'm never gonna recover out of it.
Mm.
But God healed me throughout those, like, year and a half of being heartbroken. But yeah, sometimes, and I feel like I learned a lot during that time because I learned to rely on God, like, no matter what. Like, remember, like, he's always there no matter what. And it reminded me of, like, you know to not settle is another one, to be honest, because
Mm.
a lot of people, when it comes to, like, dating, they're like, oh, I could date someone that is a non-believer.
Mm.
But it's a lesson for me. Because, like, even though you're like, oh, you could, God could change them, or God could save them, like, could use me to save them while I'm in the relationship. It's not a great idea because sometimes they'll, encourage you to do other stuff instead, like, sinful things sometimes. Because there's a lot of temptation in that, because I experienced that, to be honest. Like, when I was in the relationship, and after I knew I should have not gotten in, I was like, oh. But I was like, and I ended up, and I feel like, for me, and when I was in the relationship before getting heartbroken, I feel like the reason why God let me go through that is to learn a lesson. Like, it's not. I feel like it was not gone for waste, because I learned a lot of lessons not to settle. Number one, number two, do not date someone that is not, like, following Jesus. Like, cause you feel like you could change them, but in reality, I learned that instead they're gonna kind of, like, push your boundaries. They tell you they're gonna respect your boundaries, but they start pushing it. Because that happened in my experience. They tried. There's a lot of things that I was like, I started seeing. I'm like, this is not okay. Why am I settling for this? And I started being like, I'm not being respected the way I should be respected. I'm like, and I started, like, realizing a lot of things, and I was like, yeah. Um, and one of the things, sometimes they're gonna try to convert you instead to something else too. That's another thing that I've learned. But other than that, like, I learned to, like, he uses, like, I feel like he used that heartbreak for me to be able to get closer to him, because he's, that Bible verse that is, like, in Psalms, he's close to the brokenhearted. Literally, he pulled through, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, my cousin, she will see me. She saw me the day that we broke up. I look like a wreck. And I didn't, okay, fun fact, I didn't cry until I got home. I was holding it because I was at her house. And I'm like, I cannot show her mom that I'm like heartbroken, like I don't want to look like a mess. And until I got home, I broke. But it was the hardest day of my life, not gonna lie,
Yeah,
because I was
I
holding
do
in my
remember it.
emotion. But she saw that I was just
Yeah.
like, you could see it in my face, like just numb.
Yeah, I do
Um,
remember that day. And I know what she went through because I was with her like all those months that she was like going through the heartbreak. And I know that it was tough. And I know that sometimes like she would try to just be happy and, try to be herself again. And it's understandable because you lose yourself in a way
yeah,
and you're like, yeah, like I want to smile, but it's not real, or I want to try to be happy with like friends, but it doesn't feel the same.
yeah,
When you're hurt, it's not the same. And I remember going with like through her through it all, and yeah, I just remember seeing her devastated sometimes happy, sometimes just
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, the Lord was he was faithful during it all. He was there with her to hold her hand during everything and she got through it. And
yeah,
she learned a lesson. Sometimes God puts people in your life for a lesson, not for them
for
to be
sure.
with you forever, but so you can like learn from them and just become better and get better in a way, like just get someone who's actually faithful and like a believer, as you said,
Yeah,
that loves the Lord as much as you do and would love to go through the same journey as you.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And
And
then,
then
do
bye. I was like,
you want
hold
to go
on.
first
Yeah.
or?
And I was gonna just read a verse that I was supposed to read after my little thing, but it's Isaiah 40:31. It says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." And I just think it shows you that when you trust in the Lord, like he will literally renew your strength. Like as he did with my vision, like literally it was bad, it was down bad. I was like, there's no fixing this. Like not even a surgery could fix this. I was like, I'm just gonna be like that forever. No, he renews it. He renews your strength, he renews like anything that you're dealing with, like he will come through and he will do it.
Yeah, but pretty much, yeah, it encourages us to be like lean on him, like how you say.
Yeah.
Um, but it is for sure. I say during that time, a lot of things was changing. I don't know if you remember that era during my heartbreak. I ended up starting to be like work with high school ministry in Calvary, remember?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I met a lot of people that were like during that time would encourage me. I remember when I went to open like the first time, like the young adults from my place. Well, not the first time, but I've gone there like probably 3 times. And like, there's this girl, she's like, "Do you have anything that you want me to pray for?" I'm like, to be honest, I'm gonna be honest and wrong. um, I was just like, I'm going through heartbreak. It's been almost a month, and I just need, like prayer for heartbreak, to for him to heal me that in those parts. And yeah, looking forward, I was able to now I'm like I've been working with high school ministry for almost 2 years around there. I
Yeah,
believe
it's
so.
been a long
And
time.
then also now I have like the opportunity to be doing worship with you guys too. It's
Yeah.
I think I've been doing that more recently. Like I barely started. A lot of
We're
people
both
told
doing
me,
worship.
yeah, a lot of people would tell me since like before they're like you should do worship, and I was like I don't know, cause like I always been the girl that's been behind the scenes. I never wanted the spotlight, but sometimes God puts you in a position that you don't feel like. He tells you like you should go do this because I know you have like
Potential for it.
a gift
Yeah.
for it, but like I'm gonna use you when you least expect it. And then he also like in that saying that he does not, I forgot the thing, but the qualify one. Uh, um I said it before in the other podcast, but it's like he does not
He's not choose
call
the
he does not
qualified.
call the
Yeah.
qualify, he qualifies the called.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah,
that
that's so
happened to
real.
me because like I've I'm that person. I always been into music. Like I had a passion for music. I throughout when I was in elementary school, I did orchestra. So I played violin from 4th grade to 8th grade. So I had a passion with music. I love music. And then in high school, I ended up doing choir and band, which I was supposed to do piano, but there was like some conflict in my schedule when I was a junior. Then so I ended up doing band instead. And I was just like, I think the reason, and I never actually wanted to be in choir, fun fact, because I was like, choir, like singing is a bit rich. Like, Loki, I was always like that. I'm like, I'm an instrument girly. Like, I always play violin and I play like ukulele for fun and stuff like that. I wanted to play piano. Um, but I feel like there was a purpose for it. Like, the reason I joined choir is because my sister got out of high school and she's like, come on, do it for me. I'm like, fine. I didn't know, like, in a sense, like, that might I feel like that was low key the plan of God without me noticing. Because
Yeah.
now I'm doing like I'm singing for worship, like I'm doing and I do like the harmony most of the time. I don't lead the melody and I'm like I guess God has a purpose for it. And I was like a alto for choir, so they'll do mostly the harmony and not the melody. And I'm like, he has a purpose for that. And like it's crazy because like even right now, like Annie, she's the one in charge for worship. She's like, she tells us, "You think you could harmonize?" And I was like, "Let me hear the song and let me see if I could harmonize." And usually, I don't know, it's weird, but I could
It
get it
works
right
out.
away. Yeah, I
Yeah.
figure it out somehow without trying to find it. But I feel like this is a reason why, um, God puts you in a place that you never thought you'll do because you tell me in high school, like maybe not high school, but like maybe in high school actually, yeah, that I was gonna be doing like singing. I'll be like, you're crazy. Like in middle
Yeah.
school for sure, especially in middle
Mhm.
school, me, I was a shy kid. I would not talk to people that much, and people would be like, "Why don't you talk more?" And I was like, cause like I'm kind of shy.
Yeah, sometimes God puts you in uncomfortable places, but there's a purpose for it. For sure. Yeah. Like there's a purpose for everything he does and the way he does it.
Yeah.
During summer of last year, I got put in to work with kids for a kids summer camp.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm not good with kids. Like, or I am good with them, but when it comes to me like being patient, I will be patient, but on the inside I'll be like, please don't put me here. I'm like crying
Yeah.
on the inside. But of course I'm nice to them and I love them. I love kids, but sometimes it just gets a little out of hand and you're like, what do I do?
Mhm.
But it's all good. And so they put me there. They're like, you want to lead? You're going to be one of the leaders for the kids. They're like grades 5 to 7. And I was like, sure, why not? That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
And I did it. The first day of camp, I was getting to meet the kids. They're very quiet. They wouldn't talk to each other. And they were just kind of there. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Like,
Yeah.
do I talk to them? Do and like, I was very uncomfortable, but I was like, God, why'd you put me here? Like,
I feel
I
you.
don't know how to talk to them. I don't know what to do. And it was like me alone too. It was me leading it. So I was like, do I talk to them? What do I say? Like, what
Yeah.
if they look at me like, what is she doing? Like, oh no. And so I was just kind of trying to see what they would like to do, trying to, I don't know, like get some hobbies out of them, doing some little icebreakers so they could get to know each other better too.
Yeah.
And the first day goes by, and we were just learning about how Jesus loves you, and they were just doing like a little gospel thing, and then reading and answers, and pretty quiet. I basically had to answer everything, but it was like okay. Second day and third day goes by, and they start to like talk to each other, you know? They're like talking, they're all happy, it's all going well. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, sometimes God sends you to places that you're like, what am I doing? I'm not even
Oh,
qualified to do this.
yeah.
But at the end, it turns out that like you're good. Like you could actually do this, you know? And like I thought I wasn't good enough for that. I was like, what if I'm not good enough for this, you know? But honestly, he made it work, you know? And I had a lot of fun with those kids, you know. They were I love them. I was so in love with them, you know.
Yeah.
They're just all really amazing, really sweet and kind-hearted people. So I will be doing that next summer because I love it and I would never switch that for anything in this world. So I love that. But for sure I think he knows why he sends you, you know?
Yeah, he
he
has a
just he just
purpose
knows, yeah. He just knows, like,
for
you
sure.
might be thinking like, what is going on, you know? I didn't even sign up for this, like, this is
Yeah.
not, you're like, where was the sign up page? But he knows why, when, and where he's gonna do it, you know? And it just it was all great, you know. Actually, it was one of my best experiences I've had, and I realized that, yeah, I can work with kids, you know. Like I can do things that are out of my boundaries, or like that I'm like, oh no, I would never do that, and then
Yeah.
turns out I can do it. One of the other things too is leading at Calvary too for worship. I
Yeah.
think it was such a last minute thing too. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I want to do this, and Jamie's like, what do you have to lose? I'm like, you're
Yeah. I
right,
was
you're
like, I
right.
could help you out because I'm gonna do it
Yeah,
too.
like
So
I know I remember I did choir, but I did it as a kid. I did it in elementary school for like 2 years, and then growing up, I never did it ever again. Like I was just like, no, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, and so that happened. But yeah, now I'm leading and I'm happy, you know, at school. I do dance, I do Polynesian. I'm you know, like God just puts you in places that you're like, what happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it's things that you would never think you'd do, or you'd never, or that are out of your comfort zone, but you just end up doing them and you love them. And like unexpectedly it turns out to be the best thing, and sometimes it shows you even a lesson that you're like, wow, like a new skill added, you
For
know?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
And I
I
feel like
had
oh,
oh my
go
bad,
go
I
for
had
it.
another
Sorry.
Bible verse, sorry about that,
You're
but
good.
it was Psalms 34:4. It says, I sought the Lord and he answered, he delivered me from all my fears. I just think it resembles everything we talked about, you know?
Mhm.
Because you bring so many things. As Jamie was saying with her heartbreak, she was raw. Like at first, she was
Yeah.
like, there's some things that you want to hide from the Lord, but he knows everything, you know? He knows every single little thing. He knows when you woke up this morning. He knows what you did. He knows what you ate. He knows, you know, every single little detail about you. And right there it says, I sought the Lord and he answered.
Mhm.
And I just think it resembles, as she said, giving it all to him. Even if it's the ugly, if it's the good, if it's the pretty, you know, just giving it all to him and just saying, Lord, I need your help, you know?
Yeah.
Like I really need this in this moment. I need you to be here with me, you know? And just, you know, be here with me. And he answers them. As it says right here, he answers those
Yeah.
prayers. He's always going to be there with you. He's not going to forsake you or leave you and be like, "Oh, you're too much." Like he's always going to love you, you know? And he's just going to give you as much support as you need, and he's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're never too far gone, by the way. For sure. Like if you think you've done the worst thing ever, he'll be like, "It's okay, just come back to me." Come as you are, you know? He's always like that. He comes with open arms for sure. He's always there for you. So if you ever feel like you long gone, trust me, you're not. Trust me. I'm like, there's a lot. Sometimes you feel like I did the wrong decision. I did this, you know, and you start overthinking. But he's like, y'all, like, I know you did a mistake, but you're my child, you know. You could come, kind of like a, you know, when your father, you do something bad, he's not gonna. Maybe he'll be mad for a little bit, but then he's like, come back, like I want you in safe home, you know, back in where safety is, you know. And that's how God is. Like he wants you to come back where um in his like arms where it's safe, you know. But yeah.
I had another Bible verse just to throw out there. It was Psalms 74:26. It says, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And I just think that that verse right there shows you that God is in your heart. He's with you. He's there, even in the most mundane things that you're like, like I'm just brushing my teeth, or I'm just waking up, or I'm just, reading a Bible verse off the Bible app or something. And you're like, he's not here. He is here. He's there in every single moment of your day. He's there when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you go to school, when you go to work. He's there. And it just shows us, like, it's beautiful because it shows us that he's in our heart, and he gives us the strength to continue in some days that may be tough, that may be hard. And yeah, it's just beautiful, I think.
Yeah. And to add in, I feel like um that part, like where you said about, like, being raw and stuff like that with God and stuff like that, it's kind of showing in a sense of like living a life of surrender, like laying down everything, like your those stuff, the ugly stuff, everything in general, like the good, bad, and ugly, is surrendering. Sorry,
You're good.
everything to Him, like your life, in general, showing that I don't live for my own, but for you, you know. But yeah, so it's interesting. Like that's how I think of it, like living a life of surrender, pretty much. So yeah,
Yeah, that's honestly amazing.
yeah,
And it's good that, and it's sometimes it's inspiring to other people when God just uses your stories, your testimonies, so many hard things, and he either he either uses you as like a word of faith for other people, like other people just influence from it. And it's
yeah,
so beautiful, because
hmm,
there's a lot of people that can relate to stuff that you say. Like, there's people that
definitely,
relate to heartbreak, and there's a lot of people that I
yeah,
know relate to heartbreak. There's a lot of people that maybe deal with like illness, like me, depression, whatever it is.
yeah,
And for the people that can come to you and be like, wow, like the Lord works in you, so I know he's going to work in me. Like, that's just beautiful.
yeah.
It's really good. Yeah.
And I feel like He could use those stuff, like for me during my heartbreak, I discovered something. I discovered about, well, I knew that I could write poems, but I never knew that I had it within me to write like more poems. And during
Mhm.
that phase of my heartbreak, um I feel like God used that, like, pain to turn it, how I said, like, pain into purpose. He turned that pain into, like, to use one of my gifts that I forgot about. Fun fact, because I didn't use it since high school, like the last time that I did poems, and I remember like I could use this skill, or this, like, yeah, like this skill, this talent or gift that he has given me to write, stuff. And like one of my poems, that one that I shared is one of them, but I would write a lot of poems, like, about my heartbreak being raw. And I feel like that helps you express how you're feeling, and you're able to, like, even if you're a writer, we'll say, you could express your feelings to God literally by writing. You could write him letters or just write it randomly. To be honest, like, sometimes we don't have words, like, to say it, to express it, so sometimes writing it will be better. For me, that was the time that I'll write like a lot of poems to help me through it. And I feel like that's one thing that he turned my pain into purpose, so he could show people, like, I've shared some, like, poems, like, during my heartbreak, um to people, and they're like, wow, like, this is actually so deep, like, and raw, and I never seen something so real like that I could relate. A lot of people are like, I could relate to this, and I'm like, yeah. Sometimes God could use your talents to show, like, we're humans. We have feelings. Sometimes we feel like this. And people don't realize it. Like, sometimes we think, we look at people and they're like, they look so perfect, but you never know what they're going through. So I'm like, sometimes we're able to express it different ways. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel sometimes there's like people who say like, oh, like your love for God is so beautiful. I want something like that. But they don't know everything you've gone through.
Through,
You
yeah.
know, they don't know the everything you've gave to God over the years. I used to be Catholic until I was in 6th grade. That's when I started going to Calvary, and I started, just seeing how it was to be a Christian and what, the stuff. And I fell in love with it, and I ended up becoming Christian myself and getting baptized 1 year ago. 1 year ago. Wow. But wow, time flies. But yeah, it's just very like, yeah, there's a lot of people that like say stuff like that. That's like, oh
Mhm.
wow, like I want to love the Lord like you do. But it does, for sure, it takes time. And more than time, I think it takes beautiful experiences. Sometimes
Yeah.
you think it's like, oh, it's all bad, it's all trauma, it's all, really bad things, but at the end, it's life experiences that God will use for you to speak out to other people.
Mhm.
Or, yeah, like one of my other experiences, I just thought about this. Recently, I had a lot of like family and like home problems and whatnot. And I used to be like really, really closed about it. I think I would hide my emotions from people, especially like at school. You will always see me like happy and like not sharing so much of like what is in my heart, cuz
Yeah.
I'm like no one needs to know, what's going on, or I'm just going to look fine on the outside. But over this time and like over these few months, God has taught me that you can be real, even to people, like they'll understand what's happening, and like, you know
Yeah.
and like God is there with you, and like I've just learned to actually share out my feelings, and that sometimes it's fine to not be okay, sometimes, at least for me, I think that I'm always that person that, oh, I'm happy, oh, blah blah blah, I can't be sad, or I can't be frustrated, or I can't look emotionally down.
Yeah.
But I learned it's okay to be emotionally down. And yeah, but I think it's been going well, and God has just provided me. I've prayed to Him. I've literally kneeled at the altar and been crying my heart out, but He's answered those prayers for sure, looking back. And like sometimes you even look back. Like I remember I had this like little book, like I think it was like in 7th grade, and I used to write like things that I would pray for. And one day I just found it randomly. I was just like looking around, and I found it, and I was like, God answered those prayers,
Yeah.
And even if they were like small prayers, like, oh, what am I gonna do next week, Because like I'm stumbling over this performance, this whatever it is,
Yeah.
this thing, this, and you realize that God did it, You go back to it. Like I remember one of them, I remember it really good. It was like something, because I used to be an ASB in middle school. And I used to be so shy of doing like morning announcements, because I'm like, there's no way I'm speaking. I'm so scared. I'm shy. I'm not going to do it. And so I would pray to God. I'm like, God, like, whatever it is, please let it go well, let me actually speak out and not just like be shy and like,
Yeah.
And looking back, there's videos, there's things, and I'm like, I spoke good, I spoke my heart out. It looks good. It doesn't look like I'm scared, And like now look at me. I speak fine, and I can literally speak anywhere. And I think that's a gift that God has given me too. I'm really good at speaking. I love it. I would
Yeah.
do it anywhere, any place. But yeah, and just God shows you, and like shows you those answered prayers.
Definitely.
Sometimes you might not see it because like a year may pass. I remember like someone once said like, oh, I've been praying over this for years, and like nothing happened and blah blah. But like there is a time where he will answer them,
Yeah.
He's just waiting for that perfect time, and he'll answer it.
That's true.
And like as I'm saying, those prayers that I made were like from 2 or 3 years ago, and I looked back and I'm like, they're all answered.
Yeah.
They, like everything went well in life, and yeah, it just looks good.
And sometimes he makes you wait to build your character too.
Yeah, that is
That's
so right.
a really big one because like you think sometimes you want things handed over like right away, to be honest. Like we're these usually we're humans and we usually don't like waiting. We're not patient most of the time. But like God Like one of the fruit of the spirits is patience. Fun fact.
Yeah, that's so true.
So he actually does things for reasons to build our endurance and also our trust in him, in God. And that builds character, like in a
Yeah,
sense.
and I've like, or sometimes I think about it that sometimes he like puts certain people or certain like hardships in your life to test your faith,
Yeah,
if that makes
he
any
does that
sense.
too.
Yeah. And like I've experienced it. I'm like, he puts like random people that like do things to you, and you're like, Lord, what is going on? You're like, this doesn't explain itself. Like, what's going on, But he uses those people to like teach you a lesson and just like try to make that faith grow stronger as you go.
And show like grace too, like
Yeah,
in
for
a
sure.
sense to people. Like you, what I see is like you realize sometimes, for me personally, I'm like, you never know what they're going through too. So like sometimes they act a certain way because like maybe they're going through something and you might not even realize it. But because I've seen like, especially with me, um when I was in the Marine Corps for a bit, um it opened my eyes a lot. I was like, whoa, I took for granted a lot of things, and I'm like, this opened my eyes. And like I feel like sometimes like God has you go through things for a reason so he could open your eyes too. Like for me, like the Marine Corps was one of them that opened my eyes like a lot. Like I'm just like, whoa. So when I look at people, I'm like, maybe they're going through something, you know? And I started realizing like you never know what they're going through. And then
Yeah.
instead of like judging them or like, you know, um maybe trying to get back revenge or whatever it is, I say pray for them because you never know. Like sometimes you don't realize what they're going through. And recently I've been seeing something like at work, like in general, and I'm like, right now I'm like, maybe she's going through something. So I'm like, instead of judging, I'm gonna pray for them instead. So
Yeah, and I
yeah.
feel like sometimes like tell me not, but sometimes God like he uses people like he tells you, "Oh, this person might be going through something, pray
Yeah.
for them." Like you don't know the amount of times that I've been so surprised that like a leader comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, are you going through family problems? Are you going through this?" And I'm like, "How did you know that? You don't know me?" Like
Yeah.
sometimes they don't even know your name and you're like, "How do you know those things about me? Like, do you know me? Like, what?
Yeah.
Have we met?" And like I think sometimes what happens is that the Lord just like tells you like, "Oh, is speaking to you at the moment
Yeah.
and tells you like, pray for this person. They might be going through something or ask them, if they're going through something or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does that a lot of times. And even though it is scary, like the Lord speaks through them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Felt like through the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
They
literally.
Yeah, like it's like interesting, but that happened to me before. I got a vision before or about someone before, and I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
so
hold up.
real.
And I was like, even the first time that happened to me, I was even like, what? I was like low-key
Yeah.
surprised because I didn't know. Like before, like I did grow up Christian, but like I never knew
Mm-hmm.
like, God could like give you like provision or like a vision of someone, a dream, and
Yeah.
like could use you for a reason. And I was like, that's crazy. Like I grew up Christian and I never knew this could happen. So I was like,
Yeah, he
but
for sure uses your experiences and the things you've gone through, or he uses people in your life to show you things or show other people things. And yeah, he always does that, but he's always faithful,
yeah.
and yeah, he will always provide for sure.
And I feel like especially where he's gonna speak to you the most is when you read his word. So that's what I tell people.
Yeah,
And then when people ask like, how come like I don't hear God? I'm like, usually
yeah.
the Bible tells you that's where he
The Bible
speaks.
speaks to you. It sometimes
Literally.
is like scary, but it really does speak to you. Like you
So
might just be like, I remember hearing this testimony of this girl where she's like, I didn't even know how to read the Bible. Like, I didn't know nothing, but there's this one night that I was just in the streets, like, I was crying my heart out, and I had a Bible. And I sat there, I kneeled on the floor, and I was like, Jesus, show me what you want me to, like, what you want me to see. And she said that she opened the Bible, and literally the words on the page said, there is a girl kneeling and crying. And she's like, how did that happen, you know? And
Yeah.
that's literally God speaking to her, like directly, like his words in the Bible speaking to him, you know?
Yep.
Speaking to her, sorry. What? Speaking to her. Like quite literally. The words just jumped out onto her. Which is beautiful because that's what he does. God speaks through his word to the world.
Yeah. It's amazing, like legit.
Yeah.
So are you ready for the announcement?
Yes. Are you guys
Okay.
ready for the announcement?
You guys ready?
Okay. Let's
Alright,
see it.
so
Let's hear
should
it.
we go for it?
Okay.
Alright. So do you wanna spill the beans or me first? Okay.
You.
Okay, so pretty much I'm gonna be part of drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
Alright. So I'm gonna be part of Circuit Riders for the
Let's
fall.
go.
So if
She's
you
gonna be
guys
a CR student, guys. A CR student. Finally, I know how hard she's tried to get into CR. She applied 3 times for it,
the third time was
and she got in, guys. She
But
finally got
fun
in.
fact, a little backstory. So back in what was it, November?
Yes, I believe
I
so.
got a
Yeah.
prophetic word about
Yes, she did.
songwriting, songwriting,
Music and something poets. Yeah.
And like I'm like, huh. And I was just like, that's weird. But I was just like, and I feel like fast forward to December, God was urging me to go to the Senate. So I ended up going to the Senate in February in Tennessee. If you guys remember the second episode of talking about my experience in the Senate. So right there, it was interesting right there. It was a missions and worship conference. So pretty much right there, I knew clearly like God was calling me to like going for a missionary. So I was just like, here we go. So I was like, I'm gonna put my faith, and then I was like, I'm gonna apply to DTS for circuit riders, which is disciple training school. So I was like, when I come back, when they open, I'm gonna apply. I'm gonna be, because I've been getting a lot of like, you seen a lot of signs like people.
Yeah, she has.
It's weird like for me to go in that route. So I was like, I'm gonna be obedient. I'm gonna go for it, even though I'm like nervous a bit. I was nervous. I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna do it, this and that. But yeah, I applied in March, and I got in. When was it? Like mid March.
Mid March, yeah.
So yeah, so I got into CRX, which is the School for Circuit Riders, the DTS, which is Disciple Training School, which is 6 months and pretty much is full-time missionary. And I'm gonna be, for the first 3 months we have lecture phase, and then the other 3 months we go to outreach. So the outreach, they send us to another state or country, and we're there. We use our skills, neither music, speaker, or media. So I'm gonna be doing the music track, if you guys know. So I'm gonna be doing worship, because I was between media and worship, because I do both. I'm a photographer too. So, but I felt like there's a reason why I'm going for music, because like that prophetic word that I got about music, I feel like God wants to use me in music. So that's the announcement. I'm gonna be part of Circuit Riders during the fall.
Yeah, she is
So I'm
finally
excited
going
for that.
to CR. That's amazing, because I know that she's been wanting to go for a really long time, and I just think it's amazing that the Lord finally gave you the opportunity to go. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you guys want to support me, neither in prayer or financially, I'm gonna leave in the bottom in the
Link below.
description. I'm gonna leave the link where you could donate
Anything
the
is appreciated. We
yes,
love you guys.
because we have to raise
A lot of money.
$12,000.
Yeah.
I know
For
it's a
the
lot.
school.
Yeah.
But it's one of her dreams, so if you guys can make it possible, that'd be amazing.
I'm gonna put the link to the direct website of where you could donate directly to CR, like circuit riders, or if you want to donate in the tax deductible link, I'm gonna have a link bottom there, or you guys could also Venmo me if you guys want me to. So any support, neither prayer or financially or both, would be appreciated. So yeah, so it was nice having you
Yes.
today,
Thank you.
and that's it for today. So
Yes.
have a
I
nice
loved
day.
being there.
Bye.
Bye.